All right, good morning. My name is Geoffrey Kim. I'm a product manager for ASR 9K platform in Service Provider Systems Group. So ASR 9K it has been in the market, available in the market for the last 10 years. So this is going to be a rather incremental update on the product family. So I would like to just skip a couple of slides because the gentlemen, Phil, Peter, and David have touched upon some of the investment strategy we have. So I'll just like to go straight into the ASR 9K. What's the role? What's the strategy? What's the positioning of the platform in overall service provider portfolio we have? So as you saw a couple of slides, we have a multiple platforms available on all iOS XR platform family. And the 9K specifically is really targeted on multiple positions where the core routing and the edge routing, which is really, really important for the platform, and also positions like a DCI and BNG. So it's a rather cliche, but it's a Swiss Army knife of the portfolio. So 9K has been designed to be in the market, in the position for a long time, and serve the industry with a lot of features to support different use cases and different positions in the market. So this is a summary of what are the typical and useful use cases we support. A lot of aggregation, metro and edge aggregation, and mobile backhaul aggregation, and IP and WAN core routing and peering application, and of course, business VPN services. And we have today over 100,000 systems deployed. So, and between 4,500 customers worldwide. So obviously, the 9K is a market leader of this space. And as I mentioned, 9K is really designed to provide scale and also features. So that we can support the different use cases and different applications in the market so that we protect the customers' services and their investment with the platform. So as you can see, we have complex use cases we support, like edge service edge, Ethernet service edge, 5G ready mobile edge, data center interconnect, and the peering. In particular. So, since the market, so 9K has been available in the market for the 10 years, we have went through a couple of evolutions. Before I go into the details of the specific generations, this is how the family look like. So we have the different form factors. With the different capacities that we can support, all the way from 9901, which supports 800 gig capacity with 2 rack unit size, and all the way to 9922, which has 2 RPs and 20 line card slots. So we have a different form factors to support different applications and different places in the network. And over the last 10 years, we were able to grow the whole capacity per slot all the way from 40 gig per slot to 4 tera per slot. So this has proven to the customers that this is the platform to be in the place and serve the services they need for the long time, and we are continuing to support the whole platform with the next generation line card we are working on, so that the customers can benefit from the investment they have made 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and today. So this is the evolution we went through. So we have 4 generations of line card that we have. Today, our really focus is existing Tomahawk third generation line card. This is not the Broadcom Tomahawk, just to be sure. This is our own Tomahawk. Internal code name is Tomahawk 1.2 tera line card generation. And today's generation, fourth generation, which we support up to 3.2 today, and we will be able to support 4T soon. All right, so how does it look like? So in third generation hardware, the focus was to provide 100 gig infrastructure to the customers who has been using 40 gig line cards and 120 gig line cards over the last 5 years, just before we have introduced the Tomahawk generation. So focus was really, let's provide 100 gig line cards in 8-port and 4-port combinations. And back then, the CPAC was really the market leading the optics available. So we were able to deliver this 8x and 4x Tomahawk generation line card with the breakout options, which was available with the CPAC. And then later on, we were able to ship different phases of line cards supporting QSFP-based line cards, and also the modular line card, so that you can actually support 1 gig, 10 gig, 100 gig MPAs. And then we also have the 1 gig and 10 gig dual rate third generation hardware, so that we can support the customer's use cases where they need dense 1 gig or 10 gig combination. So this will show you how this set of line cards will look like. So this first set of slides, first set of hardware we have introduced 3 or 4 years ago was CPAC-based line cards. And then later on, we were able to introduce QSFP28-based line cards. And then this is the dual rate dense 1 gig, 10 gig line card, which is very popular because the customers would like to retain the 1 gig and 10 gig connectivity to those customers they serve, whether it's the banking or the enterprise customers or some of the business subscribers they need to manage through this relatively lower port. And this is the modular line card that we have. So this is a mode 400, so the total capacity is 400 gig, and you actually have 2 port adapter slots. So you can mix and match the speeds that you need to support, and we have combinations of 4x10, 8x10, 20x10, all the way to 2x100. So this is a really, really flexible way of utilizing the existing 9K infrastructure to deploy different combinations of services. And one thing I just highlight is, as Peter mentioned, we've got this great IP over DWDM optics available. And I mean, as you know, Cisco has been really leading the IP over DWDM technology for the last 15 years. And it is really great to see that technology has evolved to provide the same technology on an optic, so that we can provide this great technology available even at a more economical sense. So we have this new MPA, which will house the DCO optics, so that you can connect not only between 9Ks, but also 9K to the NCS 5500, the platform which will support the DCO connectivity. So this has been proven in the marketplace. The customer has a great use case already, has validated a use case, and then they actually have deploying those services. Right. So now we have introduced the 4th generation line card, 4th generation hardware on 9K. So really the focus was how can we really integrate some of the chipsets that we have for the Wi-Fi, NP, and the Fabric interface. How can we integrate all these so that we can not only just provide a high capacity line card, but also how do we reduce the overall power consumption so that we may not need to have a lot of like cooling sort of challenges. And also, what we have tried to do was, how can we provide a 400 gig connectivity on this 10-year-old platform so that the customers can migrate all the way from 10 gig, 100 gig to 400 gig in a graceful manner when they need, rather than being forced to have a forklift upgrade on some of the infrastructure. And at the same time, the MACsec is really the key requirements for some of the customers we have in the banking industry and so on. So those requirements have been driven factors for us to invest in this 4th generation line card. So as usual, Cisco has a number of phases to provide this set of line cards. The first set of line cards we have introduced in the market is a 32 by 100 and 16 by 100, and another flavor of 16 by 100 with a little bit of more scale. And then, and we also have, that 16 by 100 TR line card, which stands for transport sort of optimized. That is also actually sort of compatible with the 9000 series chassis. So for those who are not familiar with the 9K chassis, so 9000 sort of chassis can support up to 1.2 tera. So 1.6 tera. So we are able to use a 1.6 tera line card in the existing chassis, which is predominantly a lot of customers has deployed this 9000 series chassis. They are able to use the 4th generation line card with this 16 port version. And just a sneak preview of what we are working on. What we are currently working on is providing this flexible line cards where some of the ports are triple rate. So we can support 100 gig, 200 gig, and 400 gig on a specific multi-rate ports. So we are basically combining some of these multi-rate ports together with a plain vanilla 100 ports so that customers can deploy these line cards where currently the 100 gig is predominantly used. And when they need to upgrade or they need to deploy 200 gig or 400 gig the connectivity, these line cards are ready to accommodate some of those deployment scenarios. So we are working on this set of the line cards. And also, we realize that not every customer may need 3.2 tera line card all at once, not today, but they may need it maybe in 2 years or 1 year time from this point. So what we have worked on is a flexible consumption model. It's not just a 9K, by the way. The flexible consumption model will be providing better way of consuming some of these ports and features so that you have a more easier way of migrating some of this technology to the next generation technology when it's available in the future.
Now, you say we can use the same existing 10-year-old chassis. Mm-hmm. What about do you have to replace the fab modules as well to get to this 4th generation?
Yeah, so some of the requirements to use these 4th generation line cards will be refreshing the commons, such as RSP and the Fabric line cards. If you have a number of line cards to support high capacity, then yes, you will need to refresh the fabric cards on those chassis. But for 90,000 chassis, which is 9,000 chassis, you will just need to replace the RSP so that you can use the high capacity line card.
Thank you.
All right. So since the field has touched upon the overall iOS XR evolution, I would just like to just point on specifics on the 9K. So as you know, iOS XR has been the XR flavor we have supported on multiple platforms, including 9K. And what we have done for the last few years is that modernizing the infrastructure, which is all available on newer platforms. So the 9K has adopted this more Linux-based the iOS XR, which provides a modern infrastructure, whether it's the software distribution model using RPMs, or utilizing some of the Linux readily available Linux operation tools to manage the systems like 9K. And this, of course, provides a native 64-bit scale so that we can support higher route scale for those customers who needs a little more than what we have supported on previous or classic iOS XR that we have. And since we have a Linux-based architecture, we are able to use virtualized environments, the virtual machines on 9K, on other platforms and containers, so that we can actually orchestrate some of these updates so that we can provide better service such as a non-reload smooth. So just a caveat is that it doesn't mean that it's going to be a zero downtime. We will have a minimal the packet loss, but what we are trying to do is providing this infrastructure so that more number of software maintenance updates, smooth, will be applied without going through the whole system going through the reload. So this will be one of the key benefits. And also, as I mentioned, simplifying the overall operations. If the customers are familiar with Linux tools, they may be able to use some of these readily available tools to simplify their operations. And also, since we have a more modernized the infrastructure, we will be able to support booting up with the iPXE and having zero-touch provisioning capability available on 9K and scripting capabilities so that you can automate much of the operational aspects, just like other platforms we have. And one additional highlight would be since we have access to containers technology, the customers can use a small Linux applications in a container environment so that you can do some cool stuff. During the Cisco Live Melbourne in March, we were able to demonstrate running iPerf application in containers so that they talk to each other. It was actually a demonstration of one iPerf running on 9K and one iPerf running on NCS 5500. Talking to each other, we put some metrics around and monitoring those metrics, and then we inject some artificial problem to turn one of the links unusable. And the monitoring that the metrics, we were able to trigger an action to switch over to an active or fully redundant path we have. So and having some of these the capabilities will help the customers to innovate some of the operational challenges that they have. And as I mentioned, 9K has been available in the market for a long time, and our interest is to provide advanced features like segment routing, EVPN, and getting ready for 5G ready infrastructure at the edge positioning, and we would like to continue to invest on those iOS XR features so that we can work with our customers to evolve our successful platform even further for the next 10 years, even longer. I think that was my set of slides that I wanted to go through. Any questions? Really? Yes.
So they were asking about adoption earlier, and so I'm just curious, what have you seen for EVPN adoption in the provider space? Like, I have a good beat on it in the enterprise space. I really don't in the service provider space. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, I did a presentation yesterday, a session on SR and EVPN, and I always ask, who's heard of those technologies and who's adopted them. SR, obviously, you're at a Cisco conference, everybody's heard of SR, but the adoption rate is still not, tremendously high, so maybe 10% out of about 150 people. EVPN, that was much higher. I would say probably 30%. Like I said, a lot of SP networks, and especially the large ones, the web guys seem to move a lot faster, but they don't traditionally run those types of protocols. The SPs, or the big ones, are very slow moving, so it's pretty hard. And even ones with established services, with operational practices, it's pretty tough to switch over to that. So I would say of our customers, like I said, I think it was a pretty good benchmark of adoption rate. I think it's been around now. It's been an RFC for a few years now, but still, but just like SR, the uptake on EVPN is accelerating really, really fast now.
Would you say that EVPN is easier to adopt than SR as well? Which one's a lower barrier to entry? Would you say in the service provider space specifically?
A lot of our service providers that, we'd love to be all Cisco. Many are multi-vendor. I think the EVPN has traditionally been a little bit easier. SR is still seeing a lot of, the base SR IGP flavor of SR is pretty widely implemented by other vendors as well now. I think the barrier for that's a little bit higher than EVPN. It's just very similar to EVPN as well, though, because both of those are seeing kind of rapid development and additions of features, even standardized features. So, but the interop is pretty good, and we do, with EANTC, we do interop events, at least once a year. And they've been pretty successful, got a multi-vendor. But I think this year, I think we're upwards of like 80 customers that will have some type of SR deployed in their networks, versus what would have been like, maybe 19, 20 last year. So it's really kind of ramping up right now.
Thank you.